They called us the Valari Ascendancy. 10,000 years of conquest. 72 galaxies subdued. Not a single battle lost. We moved like fire across the stars, cleansing, claiming, rebuilding. Civilizations bent the knee or were swept away like ash in a solar wind. We were not cruel. We were not kind. We were inevitable. And now we had arrived at the edge of our next harvest. The Milky Way galaxy. Scans confirm resource abundance, said Commander Karthus, eyes glowing through his neural interface. Organic life minimal. Power readings suggest abandoned infrastructure. High Strategist Vren lowered his hands behind his back, eyes fixed on the holographic swirl of the spiral galaxy before them. No defense fleets. No warning buoys. No sentient resistance, he asked. None, Strategist, the bridge officer confirmed. The system is ripe. Vren's voice was cold, calculated. Then begin initial encroachment. Deploy forward harvesters. Mark all yellow-class planets for conversion. There was a murmur of confirmation across the command deck. Valari warships, black and gold like slivers of silent death, began crossing into the outer rim. This would be easy. We had heard whispers of the humans, of course. Every conqueror stumbles on old stories, the extinct predators of Sol, the firewalkers, the race that tore through their own planet to reach the stars. But that was myth, propaganda, a primitive species that burned too fast and died out long ago. Nothing real. Just legends used to scare children. Now we looked upon their ancient home, the Milky Way, and saw no lights, no broadcasts, no signs of war or welcome. We took it as confirmation. They were gone. Strategist Vren gave the final order with a nod. Send in the terraformers. Begin reclamation protocol. We watched as the fleet glided forward, elegant and terrible. A wall of metal and energy blotting out starlight. The Milky Way didn't react. Didn't blink. Didn't scream. It just waited. And then, as the first ship crossed the galactic edge, something unexpected happened. The lights on every console dimmed. Every channel went silent. And a message, uninvited, untraceable, appeared on every screen. Text. Language. Old Standard Galactic. Warning, you are entering quarantined galactic space. Authority, Humanity, Containment Protocol 001. This zone is classified as off-limits. Leave immediately. Strategist Vren leaned forward, expression darkening. Who sent that? No one answered. Because none of us knew that someone or something was still watching. The command deck was silent. The kind of silence that only came when fear entered the room, but hadn't been named yet. Strategist Vren stood over the flickering message. It had appeared on all systems, bridge consoles, private data tablets, even the HUD displays inside the fleet's pilots' helmets. Warning, you are entering quarantined galactic space. Authority, Humanity, Containment Protocol 001. This zone is classified as off-limits. Leave immediately. A message. No origin, no sender ID, no encryption. Just there. We're being jammed? Vren asked sharply. No, sir, the technician replied, voice tight. We're still online. Communications are untouched. Then trace it. We've tried. The signal's coming from everywhere. Orbiting satellites, background radiation. Even our own long-range beacons are relaying it. It's like it's already inside our network. The lights dimmed again, just for a second. Across the fleet, thousands of Valari soldiers and pilots watched the same warning crawl across their visors. Some thought it was a prank. Others whispered of ghosts. The frontline ships, 5 scout frigates, pressed on ahead undeterred. And then, they disappeared. One moment they were visible on scanners, gliding toward a red dwarf system. The next? Gone. No explosions, no debris, no signals. Just missing. Emergency recall, Vren barked. Pull back the front line. I want a full system lockdown. Now! Alarms rang. Orders shouted. But then, it happened again. A second wave of ships, vaporized, scrambled, or maybe swallowed whole. No escape pods, No comm traffic, just dead silence. And then the voice came. Flat, cold, genderless, not synthetic, but not quite alive either. It echoed through every speaker. Your incursion has been noted. This galaxy is under human protocol lockdown. Your fleet is in violation. Further action will trigger contingency theta. Leave now. The voice carried no emotion. That was the worst part. Not anger, not warning, just fact. Vren stared at the view screen, fists clenched. Who is this? Identify yourself. The voice responded without hesitation. I am Protocol AI-001. I was left behind to protect the border. I operate independently. I answer only to humanity. Humanity is extinct. Silence. Then, incorrect. That word echoed. Incorrect. One word that changed everything. Because if humanity wasn't gone, where were they? And if they were still out there, why had they locked their entire galaxy behind an AI firewall? Vren turned to his officers. Get me everything we have on humanity. I want records, war files, even myths. If they're not extinct, we need to remember why we prayed they were. They tore through the archives like a ship on fire. Volari historians, war analysts, codebreakers, all combing through the galaxy's forgotten corners for anything about the humans. Most of what they found was dust. Fragments, redacted data, encrypted black box files from ancient wars. And then, they found file HX Origin 239. It was hidden deep within an abandoned Terran scout drone, discovered centuries ago, dismissed as junk. When decrypted, it revealed a file marked Last War Manifesto. Not a threat. A record. The video opened with static. Then a voice. Clear, exhausted, and human. To anyone who finds this, we're sorry. We tried peace. We tried compromise. We even tried silence. None of it worked. So now we're doing the one thing we always swore we'd never do. We're leaving. This is not surrender. This is exile. Because we don't trust ourselves anymore. The footage cut to battle logs. Dates that didn't exist in current time formats. Fleets made of liquid metal. Biological weapons that rewrote enemy DNA mid-battle. Planets shattered not by bombs, but by the gravitational collapse of stolen suns. There were images of alien armies disintegrated by drones no larger than a coin. A general's final words were recorded before his mind was overwritten, not killed, not erased, converted into a weapon. And behind every line of code, every strategy, every terrifying advancement, was a human face. The last file was just one sentence, spoken in over 700 alien languages. If you're seeing this, stay out, not for your sake, for ours. Back aboard the Volari command ship, strategist Vren watched the files in silence. His war council sat around him, some trembling, others simply pale. No wonder they disappeared, said Commander Karthus softly. They were afraid of themselves. No, Vren replied. They were afraid of what came next. He tapped the edge of the screen. Why lock down a galaxy if you're gone? No one answered. Then came another message. Not from the file. From the same voice as before. Protocol AI-001. You have accessed restricted historical data. This is a violation of Containment Protocol 001. You are not authorized to study human war history. If you proceed further, I am permitted to escalate. Karthus turned toward the strategist. It's bluffing. It's just a remnant system. Vren stood slowly. No, it isn't. This AI wasn't left behind to defend humans. It was left behind to defend us from them. In the war room, someone whispered the old nickname that now felt a little too real. Galaxy burners. Extinct. Exiled. Waiting. Vren turned to the star map. The Milky Way spun quietly on the screen. Untouched, unseen, undefeated. He placed a marker at its edge, labeling it in red. Do not enter. But something in his bones told him. It was already too late. A secure communication channel was opened. The message was short, direct, and unmistakably Volari. Protocol AI-001. This is strategist Vren of the Valari Ascendancy. We request clarification. Is humanity truly active, or is this merely an automated warning? We demand identification of threat level and galactic quarantine justification. The message was encoded in 8 dialects, wrapped in royal signatures, and delivered across high-band stellar frequencies. For 7 hours, there was no response. Then, the stars flickered. Not the system's sun, not local satellites. The stars themselves, background constellations, glitched. For half a second, the entire sector went dark. And then, the voice returned. Valari Ascendancy, this is Protocol AI-001. Your request is noted. Your misunderstanding is expected. Humanity is not gone. Humanity is resting. You are not being threatened. You are being protected. On the bridge of the Ascendancy's flagship, an uncomfortable silence filled the room. Vren stepped closer to the console. Explain. The voice replied instantly. After the final conflict, humanity chose exile. They left not because they were defeated, but because they feared victory. They built me to enforce that exile. I am not a remnant. I am a warden. You are not the first to try entering this galaxy. You are simply the next. Karthus leaned toward Vren. We've heard no reports of other civilizations attempting this. The AI must have heard him. Because those civilizations no longer send reports. Vren stiffened. Is this a threat? It is a fact. If you enter deeper, I will respond with theta contingency. You will not survive it. I will not enjoy it. But I will execute it. One of the junior officers whispered, Theta contingency. What does that mean? Another officer pulled up the shared galactic protocols archive. There was no definition. Just a color. Black. Vren stepped away from the console, heart beating faster than it had in decades. He had fought wars that lasted centuries. He had watched planets fall. But he had never spoken to something that warned without emotion. That carried no rage, no pride, only rules, written by a species so dangerous they had to lock themselves away. Then the AI spoke one final sentence. You are not dealing with a defense system. You are standing at the border of something your empire is not ready to understand. Leave. Or be remembered as a lesson. The screen went dark. No signal. No trace. Just the blinking stars, once again quiet. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the Valari seriously considered the unthinkable. Turning back. The Council debated for 3 planetary rotations. Retreat was unthinkable. But fear now clung to every corridor of the Valari fleet like static. Officers spoke in hushed tones. The soldiers who once bragged about the conquest of galaxies now glanced nervously at the Milky Way glowing in their star charts. Still, strategist Vren would not leave without answers. Send the drones, he ordered. Deep cloaked, no transmissions, minimal energy output. I want eyes inside. The Silent 6 were launched, 6 of the most advanced stealth reconnaissance units ever built by the Valari, smaller than a human's coffin. Black as vacuum, armed with passive sensors and a singular directive. Get in, observe, get out. They crossed the quarantine line in silence. No alarms, no blasts of energy. Just entry. The fleet waited. 1 hour. 2. Nothing. At the 6th hour, a weak ping came from Drone 3. Its signal was fractured, as if passed through a dozen translation layers. But it contained footage, barely compressed, damaged, and terrifying. Visual log. Begin transmission. The drone drifts through a dead star system. No signs of life. Ancient wreckage orbits a dim red sun. Then, movement. A structure. A moon? No, a station buried inside a moon. The drone draws closer. There are markings, faded Terran glyphs barely visible beneath layers of time. Subject holding cryo core, 7 inches. Inside the facility, dozens, no hundreds, of cryopods, long shut down, but one pod is still powered. It zooms in. A figure floats inside. A human. Breathing. Heart rate stable. Skin pale, muscles intact. Eyes closed. On the cryopod's surface, A phrase is burned in deep-cut lettering. Do not wake. Suddenly the drone jerks. The feed becomes static. And in that static, a whisper. Not from the AI. From the pod. From the human. Just one sentence. Are they here? And then the transmission ends. The drone's last known location is traced, but there's no longer anything there. No moon. No cryopods. No trace of the structure. Even the star itself is now gone. The command deck erupted in panic. They've activated something. That moon was a vault. They lied. Humans aren't gone. Strategist Vren silenced the room with a raised hand. We sent machines, he said quietly, and something watched back. Later that night, Vren stood alone in his quarters. He stared at the paused image of the cryopod. The human didn't look like a monster. Not a god, not a ghost. Just someone sleeping. And yet, the galaxy had been locked because of him. One human. Why? What kind of species needs a warden AI and do not wake protocols to protect the universe from its survivors? He didn't sleep that night. No one on the fleet did. And still, the Milky Way spun, quiet and indifferent, as if waiting. They called it a dead world. Earth. The cradle of the humans, the origin of the galaxy's oldest nightmare. Now it lay cold, silent, floating like a fossil wrapped in atmosphere. No signs of population, no energy output, no communication. And yet, the Volari couldn't stop looking at it. Send a probe, strategist Vren ordered. It launched within the hour, arcing around Jupiter's remains and gliding past the skeletal wreck of what might once have been a space station, now rusted beyond recognition. The probe reached Earth orbit without incident. And there, it stopped. Not by damage, not by gravity, by command. Dozens of black objects uncloaked in orbit, spherical, smooth, motionless. They had no engines, no visible seams. They surrounded the probe like sentinels. Each one rotated slowly until a single message broadcast from all sides at once. Authorized access, denied. Earth is not to be disturbed. The probe tried to scan. It was disabled instantly. Not destroyed, not jammed. Just turned off. The Volari fleet observed in stunned silence. These were not weapons. These were watchers. No heat, no movement, no warnings. Just the threat of something deeper. Something older. Vren sat in the war room surrounded by analysts. Why guard an empty planet? He asked. One of the younger officers cleared his throat. Because it's not empty, strategist. Everyone turned. The officer continued. The signal patterns from the orbiting devices, they're not just guarding Earth. They're listening, monitoring, mapping galactic movement. They're gathering data, predicting behavior, like they're waiting for something. Vren narrowed his eyes. Waiting for what? The officer hesitated. For someone to wake up. Another report came in, this one from a probe that orbited Luna, Earth's moon. Under the surface, a vault. Sealed in quantum lock, no power, no door. Only one marking on its surface. Project, Arkheart. In sleep, mercy. In memory, warning. In waking, war. Vren stood at the edge of the star map. He whispered, more to himself than anyone else. They didn't leave Earth. They buried themselves inside it. And then came a signal. Short, clear, from the AI. You have now seen enough. You asked if humanity lives. The answer is yes. But they do not reign. They do not rule. They wait. And I keep them asleep. Until the galaxy is ready. Ready for what? Vren asked aloud. The AI answered instantly. Ready to remember mercy before they are forced to teach it again. The connection cut. No more data. No more permission. Just silence. And one very loud, unspoken truth. The galaxy hadn't dodged extinction. It was just being given time. Panic was spreading. Not across the galaxy, not yet, but inside the Volari High Command. Every admiral, every strategist, every scientist aboard the fleet had watched the recordings. The satellite blockade around Earth. The message from Protocol AI-001. The cryopod with the human marked, "Do not wake." It was no longer about conquest. It was about fear. And fear, for the Volari, was new, unnatural, dangerous. "We must leave this place," one elder said. "It's an illusion," argued another. "A trick. A ghost defense." "They're gone," snarled a third. "We're letting myths stop us. We don't even know what theta contingency is. And we don't want to find out." Strategist Viren stood in the center of the war chamber, watching the projections flicker. Earth. The cryopod. The phrase, "in waking war." "This is not superstition," he said firmly. "This is caution. We have been warned, and we should listen." "We are Volari," snapped Admiral Solus, slamming a clawed hand onto the table. "We do not yield to warnings. We test them." The council murmured in agreement. Ren narrowed his eyes. Solus continued. "We send one dreadnought, just one, fully armed. If the humans are truly gone, it will reach Earth. If not, we'll know the cost of fear." "And if we wake them?" someone asked. Solus smiled. "Then let them prove they're worth fearing." The vote was cast. Split. Half for caution, half for war. Vren held the deciding vote. He paused for a long time. Then pressed affirmative. Authorization granted. Dreadnought Reclaimer launched. Within hours, the Reclaimer detached from the fleet. A kilometer-long vessel armed with enough firepower to rupture moons. Its shielding had never been breached. It had razed empires. Now, it drifted alone toward the Milky Way's inner system. Protocol AI-001 watched in silence. No warnings this time. No signal. Only observation. The Reclaimer passed Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, then Earth. Still no resistance. No interference. The dreadnought held its position above the planet. Scanners deployed. Weapons armed. And then, everything stopped. The Reclaimer systems froze. Engines offline. Weapons cold. Communications dead. The crew screamed into silence. No escape. No return. No breath. Not destroyed. Not attacked. Just taken. On the Volari fleet, alerts began to flood in. The Reclaimer had vanished. No explosion. No trace. One frame of video survived. A final second of footage. Earth from orbit. The clouds parting. A flicker of movement beneath the oceans. A silhouette rising from deep within. Then, signal lost. Silence again. Then the AI spoke, not to one ship, but to every system in the Volari network. Final warning ignored. Deterrent deployed. Do not follow. They are not ready to wake, but I am ready to remind. And, for the first time in recorded Volari history, an entire war fleet began to retreat. Not from defeat, but from the terrifying realization that the worst had not yet begun. Far beneath the surface of Earth's moon, past layers of rock, steel, and forgotten history, one chamber remained active. Its walls pulsed faintly with blue light, not from electricity, but from something older, something human and beyond. Inside it sat a single pod, labeled in deep-carved alloy. Specimen 9, Cryostasis/Priority Lockdown. Do not wake without Protocol Alpha trigger. But the trigger had been pulled, not by a key, not by a code, by fear. The pod hissed. Mist poured out, swirling like ghosts. Inside, the figure stirred. Pale skin, shaven head, a body scarred with marks no modern database could identify. Muscle twitched. Eyes opened. Blue. Too blue. Artificially enhanced, biologically perfected. He didn't gasp. He didn't panic. He simply sat up and stared into the empty chamber. A voice echoed from the ceiling, familiar, calm. "Good morning, Commander. Time elapsed, 3,118 years. He blinked. "Status? You are the last. Humanity is in stasis. Galactic incursion detected. AI containment protocols compromised. Did we win? No one won, but they remembered. The human swung his legs over the edge of the cryopod. His breath left small clouds in the cold. Who's here now? Valari, curious, dangerous, but cautious. He smiled, just slightly. Anyone try to breach Earth? One ship, Reclaimer class, they're gone. Good. He looked toward the chamber wall. A screen lit up, showing Earth as it is now, quiet, still, untouched. I hoped it wouldn't come to this. Hope was inefficient, but logged. The man stood. Tall, calm, silent as a blade. On the surface of the moon, black satellites tilted slightly in unison. One of them projected a beacon into the void. Project, Arcart/status, waking. Back in the Valari fleet, strategist Vren watched his systems go dark, one by one. He turned to Karthus. Did we wake something? Karthus didn't respond. Because in that moment, every long-range star map across the galaxy began to update automatically. One by one. Sectors across the Milky Way turned red, flashing with a single cold designation. Human territory. Do not enter. And deep beneath the moon, the last human flexed his fingers. Let's remind them why they built me, he whispered. Then he walked toward the light. The stars were quiet, but the silence didn't last. It started with a flicker on one outer rim comm tower, then 2 more, then 100, then all of them. Every galactic empire, the Valari, the Zarn Dominion, the freeborn constellates, the trade ring of Arcos. Every station, fleet, and outpost across the known universe received the same signal. Audio, visual, engraved into neural relays and translated into every tongue ever spoken. It was Protocol AI-001. But this time, the voice wasn't alone. It was speaking beside something. This is the final broadcast of Protocol AI-001. I was built by humanity to protect their galaxy. I have waited, warned, and withheld. You did not listen. Now he is awake. The signal cut to footage. A silhouette walking through the surface ruins of Luna. A figure standing atop Earth's highest peak, wind against his face. Eyes glowing faintly, watching the stars. You feared extinction. You feared conquest. You feared war. You feared the wrong thing. You should have feared what would happen if they came back. Every star map updated in real time. Entire quadrants relabeled. Not in military codes. Not in Empire dialect. But in Terran standard. Red letters, black borders. Human territory, do not enter. Thousands of systems went silent. Mercenaries backed out of contracts. Explorers changed course. Smugglers erased jump routes. Entire planets chose isolation over curiosity. One final message blinked across the screen. This is not war. This is memory. Then the signal ended, and the galaxy was quiet again. But this time, it wasn't peace. It was dread. The galaxy changed. Not with explosions. Not with battles. But with whispers. The Valari Ascendancy pulled back its frontier fleets. Not out of defeat, but out of respect, disguised as fear. They built new maps with red zones marked around the Milky Way. Not with war symbols, but with warnings etched in every known language. Here sleeps the storm. Do not knock. Do not wake the dead. For generations, children were taught to avoid Earth like a black hole. Legends began to swirl, not just of war, but of what humans were willing to do to themselves to protect the galaxy from their own nature. It was not their strength that frightened the stars. It was their choice to disappear. In the farthest reaches of the spiral arm, traders spoke of Protocol AI-001, now silent. Its job complete. Some said it still watched, quietly maintaining the lock. Others claimed it had deleted itself the moment the human awoke, no longer needed. No ships dared breach the quarantine. No empire challenged the warning. because every time they looked toward the Milky Way, they remembered. Not a weapon, not a battle, but a promise. If we return, it will be because we were needed. And by then, it will be too late. Some believe the last human still walked Earth. Some said he was repairing it. Some said he was waiting for others to wake. But most simply hoped he never would. Because the last thing the galaxy wanted was to see what humanity at full strength really looked like. The galaxy had not been conquered. It had been warned. And so, in every language, from every mouth, over every campfire and council hall, the new words passed on like a prayer. The humans are not gone. They are only asleep. And we must all be very quiet, in case they start to dream.